So my story starts some months ago when the NHL launched our Inclusion Ambassadors program, a program that had been in the making for over 2 years. In May of 2021, we came together for a 2-day experience across the entire organization. That experience was led by Bill Proudman of White Men as Full Diversity Partners. At one point during the experience, Bill was guiding us through this fishbowl exercise, which focused around women talking about issues of sexual harassment in the workplace. Bill created the fishbowl by inviting all the men on the video call to turn off their cameras and to mute themselves. And then he asked all the women to remain on the screen so that only the women were seen and were speaking. Bill asked all the women, he said, "How many of you have actually experienced sexual harassment in the workplace over the course of your careers?" And every single woman on the screen, all of our hands went up. The men were all shocked, but the women were more shocked that the men were shocked. Even days later, I have to say, men were coming up to me sharing how transformative that experience was for them and how that moment really became a turning point into a movement in our organization. I think it's that moment when inclusion becomes humanized that people leave their heads and they go to their hearts. And I think they do that through empathy and understanding. You know, leadership starts at the top. I would say almost every week I talk to my colleagues who are CEOs of their various businesses about the importance of their role as leaders in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that is the only way that DEI becomes part of the DNA of the culture of any organization. And for sure, that's how we're talking about it at the NHL now. Every single leader in an organization has to see themselves as the Chief Diversity Officer. And I think it's through vulnerability that we build trust. I'll tell you, it was about a year ago that I invited our CEO to pen an op-ed that talked about our building trust across hockey and how we're not there yet, how our need to show vulnerability will build trust. And at that time, frankly, he just wasn't ready to do it. So I wrote it. But some months later, almost a year later, in fact, he was ready to write his own op-ed. And in that op-ed, he talked about how we're not where we need to be. He talked about how this is a journey and how inside that journey there's going to be uncomfortableness, there's going to be awkwardness, but that we're going to get there because we're going to be steadfast, we're going to be unmovable, and we're going to stay committed, and that we weren't going to stop. And ultimately that we are going to strive every single day to be our very best. Now I tell you, that's leadership, and that's inspiration. Now, what makes White Men as Full Diversity Partners approach unique, in my opinion, is their understanding that white men play a significant role in the transformational power of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a call to all leaders to step up and lead, understanding that diversity, equity, and inclusion is not about charity. It's about growth, and it's synonymous with leadership. It's that leadership that each and every one of us must take as we lead organizations into the future.